Hello everyone again. Sorry for the technical problems. We faced some issues inviting Ondrej to join the live session, but I'm doing it again.
Hey.
Hello. Hey. Oh,
Hey.
finally.
Yes.
How are you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All good. Just was a little nervous about the connection, but it works.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it's good now. It's good now. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, I didn't see you joining, but the audience were watching you. It was
Really?
weird. Yeah, it's
Okay.
online stuff. Weird.
Today's
Yeah.
today's
Thanks.
age. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for joining. Do you want to say hello to our audience?
Yes. Thank you for inviting me and having us on your podcast. And I'm just curious from where the people coming from, like Germany, Austria, wow, Turkey. Unbelievable. Global community of architects.
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of audience from all over the world. Global community, exactly. So I'd like to begin the conversation by, so let's begin from your journey into the field of architecture. What inspired you all the way and how you began the collaborative Chybik+Kristof along with your colleague Michal Krištof?
Okay. So that's like a decade-long journey. We do celebrate this year first decade of our studio because we started our collaboration right after graduation at the Faculty of Architecture here in the Czech Republic. And yes,
yeah, the practice is quite young, like 10 years. You've got quite good attention all over the world with your projects.
if you call it like that,
definitely.
I think the crucial moment was to start right after graduation. That we worked in we got some experience, work experience during our study times. Michal worked for Bjarke in Copenhagen. I worked for Anna and Georg, PPAG, great architects, not that known as big, BIG, but I love them. They are my only teachers, I would say. They based in Vienna, in Austria, neighboring country, and so right after the school, we jumped into the very interesting pool of zero experience and zero knowledge how to run the studio. That was for us something. Yes, we were curious. We are very curious. That was the reason why we start such early, and we were also very naive. But back to your question, my journey to the architecture was much actually many years ago. I'm 35 now, and I started when I was 11 years old because my father was a teacher. He's a professor of our university, and he showed me the behind the curtain things,
like what?
Like he was working a lot, and once I wanted to see my father, I went to the school, to the university, and I've seen as a young child, as a young boy, I've seen the students and the projects, and they were very charming, both students and projects. And for a little boy, that was the world of creative adults with their long hairs and smoking on the corridor, and we are talking about 1996 or something year like
right.
that. So early 90s or mid 90s, and that was very stunning for a little boy. It was a really different world in comparison to regular world out of the faculty. And
Exactly.
so I can say that I started when I was 11, visiting the school. And then the journey was quite simple. We both studied at the Technical University. We both went for Erasmus scholarship. I went to Austria, Michal to Belgium. Then the practicum, the working experience in Vienna and Copenhagen. And then we just met 10 years ago in Venice Biennale, while partying in a bar. We set up the studio.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So that was not the first idea when you were friends. Then after you got experience, you came together and decided to have the office, right?
I will not call it friends because we were more competitors. We did
Okay.
a lot of competitions, student competitions in during our study times, and we were only on our own, we were always on our own. And after that experience from BAG and PPAG, the Viennese studio, we realized that the architecture is not a one-man show, that it's more about collaboration and listening different opinions and brainstorming a lot. And you cannot brainstorm by yourself. You can, but it's not the way we like it.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Awesome. So your studio portrays a delightful method of storytelling, storytelling your designs in a poetic style. So how do you compose this architectural poetry in every design?
That was actually because we redesigned our webpage pretty recently, like half a year ago, and there was an idea of us and our graphic designer to have the cinema mode on the webpage. While scrolling the pictures, you can see the subtitles, and let's check it out. And I think it's kind of interesting approach. And the storytelling is that the buildings are talking in the first person, that they are actually alive. And we slightly think that buildings are alive, because the buildings we design are not for buildings but for people, and the buildings are alive because of the people, because of the inhabitants, but also because of the context, how the buildings translate the context into the user's experience. And that's fundamental approach of our studio, to understand the context and to take the best out of it, and through our building, through our architecture, to improve the context, not just for the users of the buildings, but even for the public, which is always very important part of our design.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Winery project is the best example of that. I love this project, but we'll get to that as well at the later. But before going to that part, I'd like to say that your studio's motto is to bridge the gap between the private and public spaces while transcending both generational and social spheres. Can you share your thoughts on this?
That's actually, it's really nice to describe on Winery project, because if you design for private sector, you're designing you can design the building behind the fence only for the client or the customers of the client. But while thinking how to merge those two audiences, the public and the private, then the design should reflect the fact that it's not only for the user or the client, but it could serve the quality for the public. And the Winery, I truly believe the Winery is a nice example of it, because it's private owned project. It's private-owned building, but it's very publicly used. There's an amphitheater, which is often used by hundreds of people. Nowadays, with the corona, it's a little bit tricky to let dozen of people sit on the stairs of the amphitheater. But during the summer, the situation in the Czech Republic was pretty okay, and we experienced over 1,000 people watching the concert, watching the cultural event, and that's pretty much expression what we thought by that sentence you mentioned, to bridging the gap, because
yes,
we dislike the fences, we dislike the walls, and we dislike the gaps between those societies. So yeah.
Yeah, as wine seems to be the studio's master stroke these days. In fact, we had the honor of featuring your project on the Lafleur Winery at the Parametric Architecture as well. Also, the new House of Wine is a remarkable transformation of a classic 19th century brewery. Could you briefly tell us about the understanding of the winery design, and how you and your team arrived to the concept and derived inspirations?
Actually, that's funny, because that's for the same client. This House of Wine. It's a winery, actually a wine bar in the formal brewery. So it's a little crime, because we are based in Czech Republic, and we are the beer culture. You know? It's like
yeah,
it's something very resonant in our society.
Attached
Yes, if someone has the courage to transform brewery to winery. But actually, this project was for the same client as the Lafleur Winery. But it has a completely different context. It's as far as the winery is based in the, let's say, middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of countryside, where it's only the vineyards and nothing else. The House of Wine has completely different context. It's in the old town, in very old city of Znojmo. Where the first buildings were built in the 9th century, and actually one of a neighboring building of House of Wine is what was built in the 9th century, and that was very interesting to understand the layers of the environment of the neighboring buildings. That there's 9th century, 14th century, 19th century, and then something from the communist era. We had in Czech Republic 40 years of not pretty much democracy, I would call it, and
yes.
Till 1989. And this building we transformed later to the House of Wine, was built in 60s, 70s as a boiler room, or heating room.
Okay.
In very special part of the city, they built with huge cynicism this crazy building, without any architecture quality, without any architecture understanding of the environment. There's a brilliant view towards the cathedral, which is actually, the view is essential for inhabitants of that city to understand the beauty of the city, because the view is providing really one of the beautifulest views I've ever seen in an old city, and it wasn't there for 40 years. That view. Even it was possible. So we didn't erase the building. We kept the building as a little scar from the face of the city, because of that cynicism, because of that period. We didn't pretend that the 40 years of non-democracy doesn't exist. That's also interesting part of that project, to let the people perceive the urban structure with the scarves. The urban scarves, but we put it into the old building, new structure, which is providing the view. So, yeah.
Yeah, amazing projects. Awesome. So your firm has been deeply invested in a variety of urban projects, taking into account local histories and also environmental specificities. How do you see the future of architecture in the urban spaces? Like your studios in other states, your studio's vision for the post-pandemic architecture.
That's the most complicated question, I would say, because I'm not a magician. I'm just an architect.
Okay.
And the age of post-corona.
What are your guesses?
I hope I think we can more think how not to spend much. Because not spend energy, money, resources, etc. Because if the crisis is coming or is appearing, maybe it will lead into more deeper understanding about little but qualities, and I would say actually today's society is wasting a lot, producing a lot of waste, and even in the architecture is lots of waste. And for instance, House of Wine is a nice rebirth project because we didn't demolish the building, even it's ugly, even has no proportions, even has no architecture quality whatsoever. We kept the building, and I think it's maybe interesting approach. It's right approach, not to demolish, not to because while demolishing the building, the carbon footprint is from very beginning of the construction is actually huge, and to compose all the waste and the material from demolition is a very big issue nowadays. So I'm really looking forward for transformations than demolitions. And I think if the resources will be in the soon future limited because of the potential crisis, I don't know, maybe the transformations would be one interesting topic for next decade.
Yeah, that's right. So talking about your projects, like Slovak Pavilion at PQ 2019, Czech Pavilion at Expo 2015, and Pavilion of Humanity are a few of your illustrated works on pavilion design. How do you drive how do you drive these inventive ideas, and what throttles your team and envisages such phenomenal crafts?
I would say, you know, what's interesting on the pavilion architecture, that's the ephemeral aspects, that they are not permanent. And we did the Expo Pavilion 5 years ago, 2015. That was a pavilion of the Czech Republic in Milan during the Expo exhibition. And we did the pavilion not as a super organic, free form, funky, crazy architecture. It was actually white cube, but it was I would call it smart white cube because it was made out of modules, out of containers. That's an example of modular architecture, and we did it by the purpose, because the exhibition was for 6 months, only for half a year. And back to the wasting and back to the demolitions, many of the pavilions were demolished right after the expo, and some of them are not yet erased, are empty and without any further use. This pavilion our pavilion was moved back to the Czech Republic, and it works as a laboratory of modular architecture. So the company.
So you demolished it and built it in Czech again?
We doesn't demolish. We just as far as it was built from containers, we put the containers on the tracks and moved back home, piece by piece. And
amazing.
That was the original approach. And I think even if something ephemeral, something temporary, there's no space for waste. That's the message I want to share with the audience about the temporary structures, because it's happening quite often. Even young architects are building those pavilions and temporary structures, but there's always necessary to think what's happening with the structure once it's the life cycle done.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we need to think about sustainability of the buildings. Actually, whatever we are building, we need to think about even after the building is demolished, or after 10 or 20 years, what's gonna happen. The functions change, the purpose will change, and we need to make the building ready for these functionality changes. And even after it's demolished, where they put these pieces, and how they gonna demolish it. And yeah, it's important. It's totally important to think about these topics while you're designing. So about the Yilha multipurpose arena, which is quite an exotic approach in contrast with a dash of red color. Could you speak a little bit about the inception of the design in this project and how it had performed in your vision?
This project is a public project, publicly funded, and it's a result of an architecture competition opened by the city of Jihlava. The city of Jihlava is a small city around 100,000 inhabitants in the Czech Republic. And they have this ambition to build the multipurpose arena. And the very interesting fact is that the arena is gonna be built within the city center. That's very important fact, that it's not moved to the outskirts of the city where only people by car can
access
it. But the arena and its position is set to be reachable by many ways of like by car, by bus, by feet. You can walk there, and I think that's something essential, and what's very typical for the European architecture, that there are two types of concepts. The first is that everything is in the city and in the city center, and there's a sustainable approach. And then our tendency is to move everything out of the city center, and that's for me extremely unsustainable approach. First, you have to build on the field. Field is not for buildings. Field is for enjoying the nature or and the landscape, or for agriculture, not for building a multi-purpose arena. But I think this happened because this decision to keep the arena in the city happened because one of the vice mayors of the city is an architect, and then what I really
lucky.
Lucky, but what I really like, that architects are not only the practicing architects or theoreticians or guys like you. You told me that you are also practicing architect, but you're running this beautiful, very famous parametric architecture platform. But they could be also politicians. And once they become a politicians, they could make these right decisions to make a competition for a public building, not to give it to a friend. What's happening all around the world? Public competitions, public competition to select the right place, to build the right building on the right place. And I think more architects, politicians, then we have a better world. It's not only about practicing.
Yeah, might be. That's right. So a room in the forest, it branches out, offering shelter, providing sanctuary. So this is the sentence you illustrated for your project, a forestry in the forest. Could you give us an insight into the iteration of heavy transparency and branching out of this concept?
Actually the forestry project is another competition result. We do a lot of competitions in the studio, and that's like I would say 50% of our projects we have constantly on the table. It's very tough to win. Our ratio is like 1 to 10. So we do 10 competitions. We win one of them out of them, and yeah, but at the end the results of the competitions are big scale projects. That's something what brings the studio further. That's not about designing a family houses only. It's about to have an opportunity to change some typology, to break a paradigm that multi-purpose hall could be a red thing in the middle of the center. Why not? Yeah. That the office building for the Czech forestry could be wooden, could be could create natural air condition, because the building was designed as a natural air condition machine. The footprint of the building for the Czech forestry looks like a hand which goes into the forest, and it's actually very close to the nature, and it was actually the concept, because while designing this building, before we won the competition, before the first sketch, we went to the site and we breathed. And while breathing, there was something. It was a hot summer here in the Czech Republic. The summers are around 35 degrees some days, so it's pretty hot. Not that hot as in Istanbul, I guess, but still hot.
Yeah. And
in the forest, where it was next to the site of the building of the project, we breathed and we felt that the humidity of the forest is much higher. The air is colder, the temperature was lower, and that was the initial idea, to design the building like this. So we designed the hand, the wooden green hand. Okay. And we touch the forest as much as possible.
Yeah, amazing, great. So an eye-catching facade of new furniture room, which is one of the amazing projects by your office that I really like it. On the outskirts of the housing estate Brno, how did you conjure the idea of placing chairs on a facade as a facade element?
Actually, black chairs facade. That's little. Actually, that's a small scale project, but with interesting attention, I would say. It's actually quite known. I was surprised that this project was become such a known thing. And the black chairs on the facade, it's pretty simple. We were struggling with the budget, and the client's initial idea was to make a showroom of the furniture, because it's a furniture producer from here, and he rent this building from 90s for 10 years, and he want some strong idea for very little money.
like all the clients.
Yes. Not. I'm not talking about the fee of the architect. It was enormous.
Yeah.
No, and we tried to change the facade by some regular facade system, like the aluminum sheets or something else, like wooden something or etc. But everything was very expensive. Everything was unaffordable for the client. And then we got the idea that he's producing these chairs. And what about to use one of their products to cover the building by the product? And
that's a great idea.
Yeah, and that was the most affordable approach. We at the end we realized, because it was like 30% of any other. The cost was 30% of any other
material.
We had regular material. So facade producers be afraid, because the chairs are the cheaper facade on the planet.
That's so good.
But it works both. It was affordable, but it also represents what's appearing inside.
Yes.
What's the initial program of the building, and it's something what became a landmark of the area.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So all these chairs were produced after you proposed it, or they were stuck in a store or anywhere? So
it was actually on the art gallery. They wrote that they were that's the reuse, and we wrote them several times that it's not true. And I want to mention it's not true. They were produced for this purpose. Because they have a UV protection, etc. But Art Daily is still promoting this untrue what sometimes happen.
Yeah, it's okay. So, do you and your friend Kristof have any project, a dream project in mind, like something you are yet to create and leave an enchanting poetic phrase and a sophisticated design?
I think that's all projects we have opportunity to work on. There's not such a topic, or as far as we are not architects of one typology or one form or one architecture direction. As you probably already know our portfolio from the webpage or Instagram account. Each building is completely different. And that's what I love. So there's not such a that we wanna build a skyscraper in New York or a chapel in sub-Saharan area. I think each project which is initiated by educated client who give to an architect trust and time and personal approach is the project I'm dreaming about, really.
Yeah, amazing. That's quite interesting. Okay, thanks for the conversation. As closing, what kind of advice would you like to share with young architects, young practitioners, designers, students? With all these experiences that you are also a lecturer, jury for competitions. What kind of advice would you like to share?
I would say build your own studio as soon as possible. If not, join us. Really, it's absolutely essential to not dream about your own practice. If you wanna do that, and you want to struggle first decade, but you're ready for that, just do it, because that's in my personal opinion, it's the only way how to be on your own and to realize your own vision about the architecture. That's my advice.
Yeah,
I hope people from our studio are not listening to this.
They will leave tomorrow to have their own office. That's amazing. Thank you. Thanks for such an amazing conversation. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Take care. Stay safe.
Take care. Stay safe. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
We're gonna continue our live sessions next week and with other architects as well. So stay tuned with us and stay safe till another interview. Goodbye.